Kim, it is such a pleasure to have you today. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and I'm really honored that you're having me on your podcast.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to have you. I have two friends right now that are doing parasite cleanses with your product line. And I just love that so much. I was literally just voice memoing them separately. And it was so fun. I've been talking about your line, I've been talking about your message, and it's just so fun to have friends that are like, okay, I'm about to take care of me. And I'd love to know. I bet this is the question you get all the time is like, how did you get into this? How did you get into parasite cleanses and understanding how, the body having to deal with parasites and all kinds of yucky opportunists.
Well, I actually come from Western medicine. I've been in Western medicine since 2004. I have two healthcare degrees. I'm such a nerd. I was valedictorian in both of my degrees because I really do love to learn and understand the human body. I was a professor. I ran 25 medical colleges. I wrote books for academics. And then my own health started to decline and I couldn't get answers. I had stage 4 endometriosis and I've had 13 surgeries, including a hysterectomy, since I was 29. And so I know what it's like on a professional and a personal level to be within Western medicine indoctrination, Western medicine ideals, and to really know what it feels like to kind of be gaslit and or have answers but really need a place to go to be able to assist with that answer. So that's how it kind of got started. I was grieving the loss of my life because it changed in such a dramatic way in 2019. My husband and I sold everything, our house, all of our belongings, and we owned a piece of recreational property out in the outskirts of the rainforest in Hoodsport, Washington. And we really wanted to figure out what was wrong with my body and why I was so ill and not doing good and why we couldn't get a handle on it after all these years. And so that kind of started this whole thing. It started helping me understand mushrooms and herbs. And I ended up going on TikTok, which I had a little account already. And so I was watching a gal and she said, I almost unalived myself over worms. And she held up a product. And I was like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to see what this looks like. She had severe depression and I did as well and anxiety. And I was on a lot of big pharma meds for it. And so I tried it. And within 3 days, I saw roundworm flukes and pinworms. And this pain that I had in my side for years was gone. And I have talked about it every day since that day.
Mm. What else did you experience as well? Because a lot of people don't really attribute these worms and parasites to some of the symptoms that they're experiencing.
My biggest symptoms were I grinded my teeth so much so that I have a night guard that I have to wear, and I wasn't going to the bathroom. That was a big issue that kind of sparked what else could be wrong with me after I was doing all these changes. I couldn't go to the bathroom, I couldn't go poop, and I was insomniac. Like, I've been an insomniac most of my life. And now looking back, I know that I didn't just have parasites. I have parasites, mold, and chronic Lyme. And that is a huge issue is that you don't sleep because they're nocturnal creatures. They wake up at 7 p.m. They want to be fed at 7 p.m. And that's what keeps you awake. And so that was a big like aha moment for me. I was a huge sweet tooth at night. I love the salt, and that's another symptom of parasites that are in your body. I never really felt like myself, and that was a big one. I had a lot of mental health issues because they do hijack your nervous system and they can cause issues between the gut and brain connection because they're hijacking you. So, those are just a few things. I know people that are listening are probably like, that's like everyone,
It's
but
true.
maybe we all have parasites. And from my studies, we all have parasites.
Why is this being ignored here in the US in particular? Because I know that other countries, this is more routine to
Mhm.
like just the assumption that we have worms or parasites, medication for that. But here we kind of ignore it. I remember I've had a few stepmothers, but my first stepmother, I'll never forget. I was a teenager and she thought she was going crazy. She had parasites coming out of her skin, these really
Same.
clear parasites.
Mhm.
And doctors were not listening to her. She dropped, I want to say, like 30 pounds. It got really scary. She was under 100 pounds by the time it was finally figured out that she had a parasite. And it was, I remember she felt like they were coming out of her eyelashes, her skin, everywhere. It was pretty. And I remember it just kind of watching that unfold, having a front row seat to that. Obviously, we all had to go on medication after we figured out what was going on with her, and it took a minute for her to clear all of this. But I just remember the journey being arduous, just trying to get an answer. This was like in the 90s.
Mhm. They just don't believe it's a thing,
Yeah.
right? And there's so many angles to it, and I'll condense it at the best I can. And I give lots of different scenarios because I come from Western medicine as well. And I had some indoctrination to think that there's no way our country, which is a first world country, could ever have that. And unfortunately, my issue was because they're in our water. And I tested our water, but our water test and my stool test had to go to Mexico. And specifically, when you go to Western medicine schools, we are so treated and taught that you have to read it in the book. And if it goes outside of that book, that it really doesn't need to be talked about, right? And so I really feel like it's taboo because it's just something that's been left out of our educational books. And so we don't like to go outside of the box, and we don't like to think that our country, a Western medicine country, which it's not just the United States. I have a company now that does parasite cleansing. And so I get to see the top 3 countries that we sell to, and it's the United States, Canada, and Australia. And those are all Western medicine countries. They all are within that umbrella. And so it really becomes a thing when you can't get help or we have insurance issues, right? I know from my own trials and tribulations with this that it was so expensive for us to get anti-parasitic synthetic medication because I didn't have a Western medicine lab test me positive. And so my insurance would not cover it. My insurance covered it after a while, but my husband's would not ever. It never covered it. And so that's a big thing because that's how our country's doctors and practitioners get paid. So, and there's malpractice, right? So to look at it on that side, I don't think that we're in a society where we're like, oh, that's it. We're just not going to do this for you. But we do feel a sense of fear because there's people that get sued and that it's a fear for them that they're going to give the wrong information. But from what I've learned over the last 4 years in my studies, and I'm now known as a world renowned parasite expert. I mean, my name isn't just Worm Queen for fun. It really is that, like, you can come to me and I have the answers. I even was indoctrinated to believe that this wasn't really something that we should consider. And even when I started going viral on TikTok, there were moments that I went back to my classical training thinking, oh my gosh, is this real? Is this really a thing? And it really is. And the herbs that we used are specifically because they're gentle and we should all be cleansing. We should all be doing this just as a proactive way, not so much as a reactive. And that's kind of where we're at with our health at this point in our lives
Yeah.
is we're
Agreed.
reactive. We're not proactive. It's really kind of a sad thing that the state that we're seeing chronic illness at.
Yeah, well, I think about, as you mentioned, Lyme and mold
Mhm.
and parasites. These are often very reactive, and in terms of treatment. And I know a lot of people have come to me over the years and asked, well, how do I even test for it? And I think kind of where you land is that just maybe assume that you have it and just proactively be cleansing a
Yeah.
couple times a year.
I say
So,
3 to 4 times a year to be safe, right?
mhm.
Every 3 months, and then I give enough product in the Purify kit that you can do it 5 days over the full moon. But the biggest thing is we're also number driven, and if you look at the CDC, it says that 60 million people, and this was like 2022 that this number came out, 60 million people in the United States have parasites that have been tested. That's
Mhm.
that through a approved lab to give us that number. When you do something like I did, where I sent my stool to LabCorp, I sent the same stool to independent lab in Mexico, and LabCorp came back negative, but has a little box at the bottom that says this is not in lieu of a parasitic infection, but I tested positive in Mexico, same stool. So my number doesn't even count in that 60 million because it's not a CDC approved lab to make it count. So our numbers in society are just not accurate, and we don't have available, affordable, accurate testing right now, which I'm working on that. It's kind of part of this movement that I've really started about really teaching people that we should be parasite cleansing to parasite cleanse. Salmon has it. I mean, I did a video the other day explaining why I pick on salmon, and it's because it's pink and you can see the worms. So it immediately triggers in our brain, okay, salmon is definitely a huge reason why we can have parasites when you eat it raw, but all worms have, or all fish have worms. They really do. I live in Seattle. We talk about it. I've talked about it with the fishermen here that are, this is what they do all day. And they're like, I mean, you just can't see the worms in the fish that are white, right? So I think we've just kind of lost that thought process. And we also don't want to think about it either.
No, absolutely no. We definitely do not want to be thinking about it. Like it's one of those things that feels a little bit taboo in the sense of like, oh, this, it can't be that. And that's why people have asked me with the testing. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm always a little hesitant because a lot of testing misses it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, there's not a lot of reliable testing, and none of the testing is affordable that I
Right.
have found, you
It's
know?
like 250 for
Yeah.
parasites.org. But there's a couple of reasons why it's not just faulty on the testing side, but they're stealthy. They really do know how to hide, and they hide in a biofilm, which is their home, which is a hard shell that's built around them that only absorbs nutrients, and it's hard to get them out. It's hard to break that hard shell. And I learned all of this while, cleansing in front of millions of people. At one point, I had 40 to 50 million people watching me a month over on TikTok when I went viral. And so I learned a lot about how to actually burn their house down, which is their biofilm, and expose them. And I used all of that to make my kit in order for people to be able to really cleanse in a gentle, safe way. I mean, there was a few cleanses I did that were very uncomfortable. I didn't know what binding was. And so all of these things really matter. But in the logistics side of when you're cleansing and when you're looking at how your body responds, it is very difficult to detect them. There's only a handful of tests that you can do that are like instant indicators, a live blood culture, right? And even that is sometimes hard to do. They're stealthy. They know how not to get caught. And they're a frequency that's alive in our body. So as we're talking about them, if you have them, they know you're talking about them, and they will run and hide deep down into your blood, your tissue, and your muscle. And they won't always present themselves in your stool. And so there's also a side of that as well. I taught lab technicians how to look at parasites when I was a professor. And unfortunately, they only get around 3 minutes. And if they don't see anything, that's that nice little indicator at the bottom that says this is not in lieu of. And that's because maybe their trained eye is not seeing it. They're
Mm.
not parasitologists that are the lab technicians behind the scenes when you're sending the stool in. Your stool sat. It might not have gotten refrigerated. You might not have captured multiple days in a row. So there's a lot of things behind on a scientific point of why it's hard to detect them. That's why I just say you should just cleanse, be proactive, like other countries like Mexico. They allow their people to go. Oh, we were in Bermuda. We went to the Bermuda Triangle 2 weeks ago on a cruise. And my husband and I went to the pharmacy in Bermuda, and we bought a bunch of antiparasitics because we do synthetics as well as herbs just because we were so infested. It's just nice to do really deep cleansing, right? And we went there, and the lady laughed at us because we bought like a whole bunch, and we bought so many for like $100, which would have cost us thousands in the States. So Other countries know this is a thing. We just happen to not. And that's really what my purpose is to bring this taboo subject to light.
Mm. I want to shift into the actual cleansing process because
Hmm.
that's what I've loved about your message. Just like, hey, let's just be proactive. Let's preemptively do this. One, first, I want to talk about adults and doing it with adults because I think that's what we're always thinking about is like, oh, as adults, like we should be cleansing the system. Is there, I know that often we talk about being at the full moon. Does someone have to wait until that time? I didn't think so.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
it's just nice, right? There's a couple of like there's a French folklore that the reason why they say what I'm about to say is because they eat a lot of snails, and snails has
Hmm.
a parasite called schistomiacin, which coats the bladder and the reproductive system. I actually had it, and I did a lot of research after I found out about all of this that a lot of people have unnecessary hysterectomies because it mimics endometriosis. And it does that because of the way it coats the inside of your system. And so they say to do it 3 days prior to the full moon because parasites start to dislodge themselves and then they hop on the serotonin river and give themselves some waterfront property while creating new communities in your body. And that's why during the full moon, your serotonin is increased and your melatonin is decreased. And people say, oh, they're crazy. It's the full moon. I mean, they kind of are, right? The serotonin is being eaten by the parasite and it hops on that river and it just starts to wreak havoc more in your body, not allowing you to really balance because they hijack our nervous system. So that's why they say during the full moon, but I really can't ever wait during the full moon. And it's not really a like, you have to do that. It's more along the lines of, oh, you can just get more. But if you're doing a cleanse over the full moon, which you would be at a 30-day with Parify, then you're gonna get as many as possible. And then maybe once you get a little bit more under control, you can then target, oh, I'm gonna do this over the full moon. I also recommend because we give around 40 to 45 days of product. Even though it's a 30-day cleanse, I purposefully did that because habit is around 21 days. And when someone hears, oh, you got to do a cleanse for 90 days, it's exhausting immediately.
Mhm.
People are immediately resistant to it.
Oh,
The time you
absolutely.
tell them they have to change their diet, immediately resistant, right? Oh, and you have to do it for 90 days. Immediately they stop and they're like, I don't think I can do it. But 30 days is tangible. And so we want people to cleanse. We want you to be successful. And if that means that you do 30 days and then you do 5 days over the full moon in between every 3 months, I give you enough product to do that. If you want to keep going because you feel great, I give you enough product to go around 40 to 45 days. Really, I am trying to teach people and show people how to be sovereign over your own health and body so that you have a little more control. Chronically ill people, one of the biggest things, because I'm also a chronically ill person, is that I lost control over sovereignty with my own body, over an illness, and over other people around me telling me what's wrong with me. And I really want to give that control back to people.
I love that. I then I want to pivot. So clear that we don't have to wait. And again, your protocol is 30 days. So either way,
Mhm.
you're gonna get the full moon experience. That's
Yeah.
gonna happen. And then what do we do about our kids? How does that work?
So our kid is Parify is for ages 3 and up.
Okay.
We are one of the first cleanses that you can do with your children. We're a tincture. And with a tincture, you can adjust and it goes directly into the bloodstream. You're not like negotiating within your gut and your stomach. With children, it's really important to be able to give them what they need. And they have a harder time telling you what's wrong. And so
Mhm.
you can start them out slow. We say 15 drops 3 times a day for adults, but if you want to adjust it and do 5 or 10 or they can do exactly what the adult levels say. We also have nut free options and we ship worldwide. We're one of the few parasite cleansing companies that are for children with nut free options as well. And so we also include the binder, and you can open your binder and you can add it to applesauce if your child doesn't like to take pills. We have Ceylon cinnamon and coconut activated charcoal as our current binder, and you can add that to applesauce and it just tastes like cinnamon then. We're also a parasite, candida, and heavy metal detox, and we break the biofilm. And we do that with all of the herbs that are inside of the Parafite kit. So it really is like a whole body. It's not missing these ailments that are in our body. And I do recommend starting your kids on it because if you can show them this is cool and how much better they can feel, which I see it every day with some of our customers in our community, is that their children were having behavioral issues. They had the black circles under their eyes. Pinworms are a huge issue. They're like lice of the butt. Once one gets it, everyone in the family gets it. It's hard to control. You don't realize how much it disrupts your child's behavior. The minute they start putting them on a cleanse, bam, their behavior gets better. They're more attention driven. They feel better and they're able to communicate a little bit better because they don't have anything hijacking them. They're energetic hijackers. They really are. It's not fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is I think it's such an energy suck of the
Mhm.
body.
Yeah, they're stealing our life force and we don't even know it. And we've just ignored it. And we've thought, oh, I'm stressed. I'm grinding my teeth because I'm stressed. Like a lot of us, including myself, had TMJ because I was grinding my teeth so bad. And it had nothing to do with that. They hijacked the magnesium and the calcium and the vitamins out of my body that helped calm my nervous system in order for me not to be grinding my teeth. And
Mhm.
I wasn't absorbing anything because they can absorb 6 to 8 times their weight in heavy metals, viruses, bacteria, spores. They can absorb all of our nutrients, up to 90% of our nutrients. Here we're thinking we're doing all the right things with supplements. And in fact, they're absorbing them, not getting into our body. And then we go get tested and we're deficient. And we're like, why are we deficient? I'm taking this every day. And it's because you're just not absorbing it. They're absorbing it. They're stealing our energy force and they're not allowing us to get better. You do one quick sweep and in 30 days, you're like, wow, I feel better. What else can I do? I mean, it does, in my opinion, become somewhat addictive when you start to feel better after feeling bad for so many years of my life. I felt so sick. I would get labs. I mean, obviously, I'm friends with a lot of doctors, and I would go to them and be like, listen, I need a scan. Like, I don't feel well. Like, what's going on with me? I'd come back normal every single time. And I'm like, something else is wrong with me.
Mhm.
And I just knew it to my core. I just kept digging. I just kept digging.
I'm so glad you did. Oh my goodness. And the 30 days,
hmm
walk us through a little bit because I know, because I will be honest with you, even with some of my ladies, my community is like, even 30 days feels like a lot.
hmm
I know that there's a kickoff period of a couple of days that kind of set the tone for the protocol. And then when you're doing the tinctures and you've got the binders, anything else I'm missing? Help me out.
Well, because I've heard this a lot over the last few years, I actually created another kit called the Lymph Kit, LYMF. It helps open up your pathways. It's also the same system as Parafy, 3 tinctures and a binder. You take it up to 3 times a day. It's all tinctures, so it's drops, and you can start that before, and then it helps your Parafy kit be more successful and feel better. 30 days is a lot in a lot of people's eyes, but how long have you been sick for?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? How long have you felt like you felt in order for you to actually take a cleanse? And so I try and like tell people that in order for them to understand. But it really is simple. Like I made it so simple because I needed my husband to cleanse. And we all know what it looks like for men to do something on a daily basis. It's so easy. It's literally 3 times a day. You just take it in the morning, afternoon, and evening. Studies have shown you don't necessarily have to take it with an empty stomach. It's the best, but if you don't want to, and then you bind at night. It really is a simple thing. I think it's just getting people in a habit of learning to take care of themselves a little bit differently.
Agreed. And the tinctures can just go into water. Is that correct? Or do
Yeah.
you? Yeah. Okay,
You can
cool.
put them directly in your mouth. I'm going to show you how you
Yeah,
take
yeah,
it
yeah.
because I haven't taken my Sustain yet. So I like the way it all tastes. It's one of my favorites. So I'm done. That's it. I'm
Okay.
done for my thing for the day. You can put it in water. You can take it direct like that. You can put it in tea. You can put it in juice.
Mm.
However, it's easiest to get it in your body. But the most important is getting those herbs into your body so that they can start working. That's the
I
most important.
I love one of the things that I loved so much about the line was that it is all herbal support. It's all herbal. It's all clear because there's a lot of products out there, protocols out there that are much more harsh, much more intense.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I did my first parasite cleanse, it was medication.
Mm-hmm.
That was what was recommended. And that I was like, oh, okay, this must be the only way. Like I kind of got fear mongered into thinking like this was, if I really wanted to knock this out, I needed to take the drugs.
Well, I feel like that's the case still, right? We're seeing all these companies coming out with Bend and Ivor, and I think there's another company that's kind of putting us to the test because of that, but we are herbs. We're not synthetic. If you want to take synthetics, you can, but I also recommend because and I'll break this down. I'll break it down. It's one of my favorite things to talk about specifically because a lot of people have not heard about frequencies and ailments and how all of this works together and how I realized this when I started my company. But you can do synthetics, but when you do them, you got to follow them up with Parify, specifically because our kit is an overall all general type of parasites and worms frequencies. I've used herbs that go in and help multiple different types of herbs or multiple different types of parasites with the herbs. Now, when you use a synthetic, they have honed in on the frequency of that particular
I was going to say it was only for
parasite.
one specific
Yes.
parasite.
Yeah. So like
Yes.
albendazole, right? That's one. It's only specific for tapeworm eggs, roundworm, and pinworms. And sometimes not even pinworms. It depends. But when you take an herb, it's frequency for that ailment. So when we say frequency, it's specific like think about when an opera singer sings and she
Mhm.
gets her voice to the same frequency as the glass and it shatters. We're doing the same thing with these herbs. I went in and I realized, oh my gosh, like I had small intestinal parasites. What can I take to help alleviate the small intestinal parasites, which also makes you feel unworthy? And so that's where that particular feeling comes from. And I learned that Oregon grapefruit and peppermint put together will actually go in and help eradicate that ailment. So the frequency of the herb helps alleviate that. And so I'm then going in and shattering their ailment. That's the ailment. And so I learned all of this. I mean, I come from Western medicine. This isn't something that like we're taught. It's all taboo and hoo hoo. And so I realized that, oh, we need to be doing this consistently. If you think about how big your intestine is, right? It's like 22 to 30 feet long. You got to get in there and get it really cleaned out with multiple different issues that are going on in there. So you have to bring in multiple different herbs. You have heavy metals. That's why we have metal flush that helps swish out heavy metals that they're dumping. Because when you kill them off, you're literally having what's inside of them dump.
Spill out. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to go in and sweep that out all at once. And that's, I think, what made me go so viral when I started my own company because we actually are our own manufacturing facility. We have a 10,000 square foot manufacturing facility that's custom built, that we custom built ourselves, and we make and soak our own herbs. I learned the best process. I'm not an herbalist. I am now, but I wasn't when this started. And so I had to become self taught how to utilize the herbs the way that we need to specifically for a parasite cleanse and all of the things that are inside spores, viruses, bacteria, and what can we do to bring that in that's not a synthetic driven way. And over the last few weeks, I've actually learned how much big pharma has zeroed in on that frequency. I had a hair test. I was on a cleanse. I had a hair test, and the hair test came back positive for heavy metals and parasites. And I'm like, well, I know I'm on a cleanse right now. And I know that I'm specifically targeting heavy metals and parasites right now. And my hair is showing that. And they learn that. And that's how they've been able to synthesize specific herbs and change one little molecule in order to be able to mass produce it. Now, I do think that you should do synthetics here and there. I think it's really important to get down and dirty and get really into removing these, but you also need to follow it up with an herb cleanse because it's so much more gentle. It's so much more easy on your body, and it will actually incorporate a lot more than you even know that one thing. So when people come to me and say, "Oh, I took Ivor," and I'm like, "Did you bind?" That's the first thing I always say. "Did you
Mhm.
bind?" But when they do that, they've disrupted pinworms because the frequency inside of Ivor synthetically, it does not get rid of pinworms. So a lot of people will disrupt their appendix and the microbiome, and then all of a sudden they're like itchy, and it's because they've disrupted the pinworms, the state, whatever was holding them that they just killed and dumped. It dumped that, and now they're, regenerating in our body at a high rate.
Mm. Right, because ivermectin only addresses certain worms.
Yes, there's only
Yeah.
5 that it addresses. And so those 5 are not pinworms, and a lot of us have pinworms, and they can actually stay dormant in our bodies. You would never even know
Mhm.
unless you disrupt them. And then the moment you disrupt them and make your body inhospitable, or they're within another worm, then it becomes an issue. And, then you're like, "Oh my gosh," and those are really hard to get rid of.
Yucky. Oh, it's so icky, Kim. I'll tell you
It
what.
is. I mean, I left urgent care because I don't like parasites, and here I am,
Here you
the
are,
burn queen, and
living living this life.
oh man, I mean, it's such a matrix. It really is. I make fun of salmon all day, and
I know
my
you do. I know. And then here's the thing. I mean, my newest book coming out is all about omega-3 fatty acids and how we
nice.
don't get enough of them, and salmon being one of those really great, you know, options.
I mean, it's so crazy that my hair test came back saying I was allergic to salmon. And it's probably because the frequency of my voice consistently says salmon, but also my niece's last name is salmon,
Oh,
like the
interesting.
fish. And so I've been constantly my whole life saying salmon. It was my sister's last name. I mean, really, it's such a funny Matrix is so funny. It
It's
really is.
interesting. Oh my goodness. Kim, honey, where do we get? I know that your products are just like incredibly effective.
Mhm.
I've done a cleanse already with the products earlier this year. I have another kit to do them in about a month or so.
'Kay.
And like I said, I have a lot of friends who are doing it right now as well. There's a lot of other companies that are selling parasite products, and I'm always recommending yours because I love how natural they are and how multifaceted they are.
Mhm.
Like that they're like we talked about today, that they're really hitting the spectrum and the
Yeah.
frequency.
We're the original.
Yeah.
We're the OG. We were the creator of what a kit looks like. So
I love it. I love it. So where do we go? Where would you love to go? I know it's rogershood.com.
mhm.
Mhm.
That's the first place to get your kit. You can go on any of my social media platforms as well. And there's a link always up in my link tree. And I do recommend starting with the lymph kit. And I'm happy to send it. I don't know if I sent it to you yet, but
I
I
don't think
really
I
want
have
to.
that.
Oh my God, it's
Yes.
so good. It's such a good kit because it helps open up your detox pathways. It also, people don't realize that your brain also needs to be detoxed
Yes.
prior. And so I added lion's mane and cat's claw. Cat's claw helps protect and repair any DNA that's been damaged by these environmental toxins that we're always all talking about. And then lion's mane, if you think about like a school bus, it's the driver across the blood brain barrier,
Mm.
and it's bringing these herbs into your brain to not just work on your body, but to also help detox your brain and protect your brain at the same time. Lion's mane was instrumental in saving my brain when I was getting off of my Klonopin after 22 years during this whole thing that I've been going through, and I just love it. And so I brought that in, and then in the lymph kit I brought in turkey tail, which helps boost your immune system, and it helped me get into remission after over 2 decades of having
Mhm.
endometriosis. It was instrumental in breaking down my scar tissue. They actually give it to patients that are in oncology in order to break down tumors. It's just a really overall amazing mushroom, and so I brought those to the forefront. And so I really do recommend anybody that is starting in this journey to do the lymph kit first for at least 2 weeks. And then you can actually keep taking it with the parasite cleanse so that it keeps your pathways open and allow you to have a much better cleanse. I worked really a long time on developing how a wellness supplement can assist with when you're cleansing and going through die-offs. And we've had a lot of people come back to us with feedback saying that it's a much better cycle and cleanse for them to go through. And then you can keep taking it after. It's just a great way to keep your body in that opening of your pathways. So I really do recommend starting with that. And we also have Fulvic. I don't know if you know that I went viral over Fulvic right after I went viral over Parasite cleansing. I had some swim out of my feet on film. And so Fulvic is just a really great mineral that our body really needs to process, and they don't really like it. And so when you're doing any sort of soak, your body can absorb up to 2 cups of water every 15 minutes and everything that's in it. And so with Fulvic, your body's absorbing it, and it's also creating another area of, oh my gosh, I don't want to be in here and hospitable. And so they start to want to flee out of your pores. So that's another option that we have. And then another option we have is Gutty, which helps with mucoid plaque and really preparing your colon in order for you to have a much better cleanse and go poop to get them all out.
I love that. Thanks so much for sharing, Kim Honey. Thank you
Yeah.
for giving us the full spectrum of what you have to help make that cleanse experience, one, more effective and more gentle. I love
Yeah.
that.
Thank
And
you.
it's such a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. And if you are ready to learn more about perimenopause and how to navigate with a lot of ease and grace, be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you can join our community. Don't forget to share this video with someone that you love, that you know is navigating the perimenopause journey as well, because they deserve to feel their best too. See you in the next video.